clothes. A number of years ago, I was traveling through St. Louis, Missouri. I was changing planes, had a little extra time, looked down at my shoes, realized I needed a shoe shine. Walked into the shine stand. Young man escorted me to my seat. He made the change for his previous customer. I had a chance to look at the prices of the shoe shine. 75 cents, this was about 12 years ago. 75 cents was the regular shine, $1 was the wax shine, and $2 was the spit shine. Well, I figured I'd get the regular shine for 75 cents, tip the guy a quarter, and I'd be on my way. He came to me, and incidentally, I called this the shame clothes. He came to me, and then he said, "Which one?" I said, "Regular." Now, you're talking about voice inflection. The young man backed up and said, "Regular." Well, I knew right then I was in for an unusual shoe shine, but I wasn't about to let that guy get the best of me, so I said, "Yeah, you guys do such a marvelous job here. I know it's going to be fabulous, and I'll be on my way." Well, the guy didn't say a thing, didn't even grunt. He just started putting the saddle soap on my shoes, and he started cleaning them. And as he did, he said, "Man, these are really nice shoes." He said, "What kind are they?" And I said, "Well, they're Ballas." He said, "Boy," he said, "they're nice." He said, "I bet they're comfortable, aren't they?" I said, "They ought to be." He said, "Cost a lot of money." I said, "Do they ever cost a lot of money?" And he went on cleaning the shoes, and then he reached up and he felt the pant leg. And he said, "Man," he said, "that is really a nice piece of cloth." And I said, "Well, it ought to be too." He said, "What kind is it?" And I said, "Well, it's a Hickey Freeman." He said, "Man, those suckers cost a lot of money." I said, "Yeah, I know they do, but this one's got some special cloth in it, makes it even more expensive. But I've already been wearing this suit about 5 years, and you still can't see any problem with it." Well, he said, "Man," he said, "that's nice." And then he started the shining process, and he was just a shining away, and he was a popping, and when they're popping, that's not shining. I shine shoes in the Navy. I know when you're shining shoes. That's a sales talk. He's trying to attract the crowd from outside. So he was just a popping away, and all of a sudden he backed away, and he looked me right in the eye, and he said, "This seemed like a shame. Man spent over $100 on a pair of shoes. Spend several $100s to get a nice suit of clothes. And all he's trying to do is look nice. Then he won't spend another $1 to get the best shine in the whole world." I said, "Spit on him, man. Spit on him." Well, now, folks, when you get a 75-cent shine, a 2-bit tip, that's fine. But when you got a $2 shine, nobody with class gives a 2-bit tip. So I gave him a $3, and as I walked out, I was really picking them up and putting them down. I was feeling pretty good, I looked up at the clock, and as I did, it clicked straight up and down 10 o'clock. Now, the reason I mentioned that is because when I sat down, I noticed it was exactly 3 minutes until 10. I was in his chair 3 minutes. I gave him $3. Now, you don't have to be a Phi Beta Kappa from MIT to figure that one out. That is $60 an hour. Did you realize that's what we were paying our psychiatrists back then? Of course, this guy does some good. But, you might say, "But Zig, he doesn't shine 20 pair of shoes an hour all day long." Okay, but you figure, let's cut that half in two. Instead of 60, he makes 30. Cut that half in two. He doesn't make 30, he makes 15. And you take $15 an hour and cut that half in two, and I know he does more than. You know what that adds up to? It adds up to right at $20,000 a year. Shining shoes. And I got something to tell you, friends. If that dude ain't making at least 30, ain't a dog in Georgia. I mean, he is shining a lot of shoes. But now let me point out two very sound things about him. His name is Johnny. I asked him his last name. I knew Johnny because it had his name on his name tag there. He said, "I'm not going to tell you. If I tell you both names, you'll forget them both. If you'll always remember Johnny, though." He was a professional. He's the only shoeologist I've ever seen. Now, the reason I know he was a shoeologist, he had it right there on his name tag, Johnny Shoeologist. But let me point out a couple of things. He was a superb workman. He delivered everything he sold. That's important. Number two, he was a professional salesperson, and those two things merit it. But what I'm really saying is, if a gentleman in a job like that can make that kind of money, look at what we in the profession who have products and goods and services that extend to us infinitely greater opportunities, look what we can do. But the story doesn't end there. A few months later, I was back in the St. Louis airport. I walked in this time. There's no other shine guy around, no other customer. I'm the only one. Now, by then, they've changed the prices and structure just a little bit. It simply says, best shine, $2. I sat down, and he said, what kind? Well, I didn't want to go through that routine again. So I said, just give me your best. Well, as he was shining, I was bragging on him. You know, I discovered a long time ago that behavior which is recognized and rewarded is repeated. And so I wanted the best possible shine. So we had quite a little conversation. As a matter of fact, he got carried away and he just kept shining, kept shining, kept shining. And finally I said, Johnny, I got to go. He said, okay, and he finished it up. As I stepped down, he said, he said, I noticed you hung up an overnight bag when you sat down. I said, yeah. He said, you're spending the night in St. Louis? I said, yeah. He said, I was just wondering if you had another pair of shoes in your bag. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. He said, it'd really be a shame to have the best looking shine in St. Louis tonight and then just look like one of the gang tomorrow. He said, won't take me but a moment. I call that the extra clothes. Now, a lot of times as salespeople, we overlook the fact that we have other goods and products and services. We skim the surface, and leave more money on the table, more needs on the table that need to be met than we are actually reaching. Don't misunderstand. I'm not suggesting you try to sell everybody everything you've got every time you make that call on them. But they're buying, if you're selling products that they're buying from someone else, think of the time and effort you can save them if you can become more of a service person to them, selling them more of the things they're buying already anyhow. It is a service. You really can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get